Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of where we're looking at episode 5 of Players and our review.
I think
recap.
from now on you should just say episode 5 review.
It is the second episode of our series, following along with the series Players, where we will be focusing on episode
and
5.
Tuned out. You know that graph when you start a YouTube video and it goes from 100 to just 50 instantly? Like, oops.
Anyway. I'm joined as always by Mark Z. How's it going, Mark? What are you looking at? What are you doing? Oh, you're adjusting the camera. Okay, why?
Because it wasn't centered.
Well, now you're off to the side. You've adjusted it.
It was even
sideways.
worse before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Anyway, whatever.
Oh, it's because I'm flipped. That's why it's fucked.
Oh, you're flipped?
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be on opposite sides?
See, that's yeah.
Okay. When I look this way, I'm looking at you.
There we
This
go.
is right.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's
Okay,
right. But
okay,
I think
okay.
we had to flip me first.
Anyway, this is a show that we do. You might have missed episode 1, where we looked at episode 1 through 4. And so now we're on episode 2, looking at episode 5.
All right, so let's dig into it.
So first off, Mark Z spoiled this episode for me. On Twitter, he posted a screenshot of the offline TV party where Cream Cheese says, "Man, fuck Skara." And that is most...
What
let
did
us
it
know
spoil?
in the comments.
What did it spoil?
Let us know in the comments if you think that is a spoil. It spoiled that Skara was... It was spoiled that there was likely a cameo appearance from Skara.
But it didn't spoil it if it's just likely.
It spoiled a...
It was likely that there was a cameo appearance given that Broden was in episode 2 as director of offline TV.
It
So that
spoiled...
if you're actually a good viewer and paying attention to context clues, you could figure that Skara...
Pokemon's not in this.
Are you sure?
I mean, I haven't seen
Did
her
you
yet.
just spoil? I was waiting if Pokemon was going to show
I
up.
haven't
And you
seen-
just fucking spoiled that
I don't
she's
know if
not
she
in
is
it.
or not, but if you by your logic, you should assume Pokemon is in it because Broden is
you
as
just-
director of
you just
offline
don't
TV.
know.
I'm using your own logic. You said that it, like if you can't both have it in a situation where Skara,
I don't think either of those are
are
spoilers. No, my point is neither of those are spoilers actually.
Mark
I was using your logic
Z
against-
posted a screenshot of Cream Cheese saying, "Man, fuck Skara" at the offline TV party, and I have
don't know
not
it's
seen
the offline
episode
TV
5
party.
yet, and I think that is
You're saying a bunch
spoiler.
of things that were not known in the screenshot.
Go look at his screenshot on Twitter.
You don't know that's the offline TV party.
Go look
You
at his
just spoiled
screenshot
that.
on Twitter.
That
and
could be
see if
literally
it was
any
a spoiler.
situation. That could have been at the Fugitive House.
If you've not seen episode 5,
You don't know.
Do you think that posting a screenshot from an episode that you have not seen yet with subtitles on it about a character is spoilers? Let us know in the
I
comments.
like how you have to abstract what the context was, because if you actually say just fuck Skara dude, it's not a spoiler.
Somebody posted in chat.
Pokey W.
Pokey W, where is she? Pokey W.
No, I like how you have to pretend that it was worse than it was to make it. He posted a full sentence that was important world building. It's like, no, the line was fuck Skara dude. It's not a
What
spoiler.
did you? Okay, to put a cap in it, what do you describe? What you did?
I took a picture of a scene, and in it, one person says "fuck Skara, dude." Cream cheese. Cream cheese says "fuck Skara, dude."
Let us know in the comments if you think that's a spoiler. If you haven't seen the episode yet, let's talk about the episode.
Let's no, I'm over it, man. It's not a spoiler. You think like if I told you the color red appeared in a show, you'd be
No,
like,
that is not. How is that? That is.
I don't know. You tell
I'm
me.
not
How's
trying.
that a
I'm
spoiler?
trying to move on.
I
I'm
don't
trying
know.
to move on. Can we talk about the episode? Let me know when
I
you're
would,
ready to move
I would
on
love
from
to have
this.
started with the episode.
Let me know when
but
you're
you
ready to
wanted
talk
to
about
bring
the
this up.
episode.
I had the poll running before this started.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready whenever. You should have started with the episode if you wanted to start with the episode, not this stupid.
Let's talk about the plot. The show starts, and Cream Cheese is upset because Organism is getting interviewed and is like on a throne, and he's like just jealous, essentially.
Yeah, this episode, I thought the teammate bonding would go a little faster, and it
Yes.
wouldn't have what ended up being a pretty big conflict still episode.
Yes.
But yeah, there's a lot of just them taking digs at each other back and forth on
One
this.
thing that I did like, I think even before the interview, Organism is solo queuing. Cream Cheese wants to go to bed, and Braxton has put their OPGGs up on the big monitor to try to show who's got the more games or whatever. And I'm like, that's it, because that's what we try to do with Champions Queue, to bully players into doing it.
It was funny on in Hotline League where Dokla was like, I guess you should just play some for like PR.
Yeah.
And we're like, I guess so.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was cool to see that, like them pushing each other a little bit to play more. And I think that's also a real thing, you know, given that Dokla was talking about him making contracts play more, where he's like, he's like, I was like, you guys are pushing each other, and he's like, it's more me pushing contracts.
Yes.
So that was cool. I thought Cream Cheese was a huge asshole for the majority of this episode.
Majority of the episode. So we, after you have the setting of like, okay, Cream Cheese is continuing to be jealous, they go on the LCS broadcast where they're talking to Emily and Dash, and they're interviewing them. And apparently this was going to be another situation where it was just going to be Organism, but Braxton, I think it was, or April decides to put to also make sure Cream Cheese is there so Cream Cheese doesn't get super jealous. Organism, not a good interview, and he's like kind of nervous. Cream Cheese is kind of crowding him out because Organism's not saying much, and then Cream Cheese basically blames him for...
He does one of those like, it's a joke but it's not a joke about like, thanks for giving me an early vacation so we can do this, Organism.
And he's like, aha, I'm just joking or whatever.
Yeah, but everyone knows it's not a joke. And so that starts the main conflict, I guess, for this episode.
Right. Because after that, Guru on his podcast comes in and is like, oh wow, he slighted Organism, and he does like a public invite to have Organism come on the show. And Organism comes on the show and kind of flames Cream Cheese a little bit, and then does the iconic like, I still think you're a good player thing, and Guru hypes it up. And the most offensive thing apparently was not the fact that he said like he was making fun of Cream Cheese, but the fact that he went on Guru's podcast, which launches us into the flashback. So if you want to take over from there.
Yeah, so the big flashback this episode is the context around Guru, which we all kind of knew was coming at some point, and like how he departed the team. And he was obviously upset that the team sold. And I guess to his character, it's like, oh, I just lost my big opportunity to make a lot of money in esports. And so he pretended like it wasn't a big deal to the team. They made LCS. He played with them the entire offseason, grinding for the first game. They come out as this new team in the LCS. They beat Cloud9. It's this hype moment. He does the post-game interview, and in that, he announces that he is quitting now after a single win to start a brand called Never Lost Gaming because he's 1-0 in the LCS. Right. And it's like a big meme. He has like a whole launch ready to go. He puts out all these clothing and things, and the team realized when they thought he was just like out partying or doing other stuff, he's been masterminding this plan to basically fuck them over because now they don't have a top laner, and they had no idea he was going to do this.
And like he betrays them and just basically, like I think they get really affronted by the fact that he's basically using this to launch a brand, and they thought he would fail, and instead he obviously finds massive success with this brand, and uses like never lost, etc. So that brings us back to like kind of the betrayal is like this guy was sort of the villain against this organization, which I like that a little bit as a scenario for the episode or for this world, because I do think there are players that like kind of like screwed over another org or whatever, or where there are like rivalries between individuals. Like didn't Reggie play for CLG? It was either Reggie played for I think Reggie played for CLG at one point in time or something.
I mean, like super back in the day, like this is pre-season 1 even, I'm pretty sure. I think he played on a team, or they did like a meshed roster thing, but I actually don't know how much since LCS that like players have screwed over other players by
maybe not screwed over, but like a player leaves and then you start to get this kind of rivalry between. Obviously this player did not end up, like Guru ends up going and creating his own content, but either way I just kind of like setting it up because there are some situations where like certain players just hate other players in the league, and it's like a big deal, and not as much these days, but definitely back in the day.
Yeah, I mean the 2015 timeline that they're using here is really more of like a 2013 era thing. Like they definitely bumped it up more, and so to that point there were a lot more people who just had beef in the scene back then. Funny enough, people like Doublelift and Elements of recent drama.
Yeah.
So it's funny that drama from 20 13 still makes the front page today, but we don't have drama of like who hates who. I don't know which players have beef right now.
Yeah. So in this section, I will say, because rather than like drag this into like my general thoughts on the episode, I think this section actually made this episode not as enjoyable for me to watch. I liked the episode, but compared to some of the others, I think they unfortunately, for the purposes of making it so that anybody could watch this, had to spend a lot of time explaining the differences between a streamer and a player. And so they have to do that with Organism, where they're like, oh, Organism could be, he's both a streamer and a player. He has the ability to make a ton of money streaming. And then they have to explain what it means for Guru to go do this. And like, there's all this kind of like world building knowledge you have to do to explain like how you can be somebody who plays pickup basketball essentially and make a ton of money. And like, that is less interesting to me for obvious reasons, and I don't fault them for putting it in, but it does, like, I'm just kind of like, yep, I get it.
Yeah, I definitely, I know a lot of people are hyping this episode up, and like when we get to the ending, it is a hype ending, but I did agree that the middle of this episode was pretty forgettable to me, where it's like, oh, he started Never Lost. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, it felt like that took half the episode
and you already knew Guru was kind of, like, they did a good job in the first 4 episodes of foreshadowing him and also making him, like, such a villainous, douchey dude that, like, whenever you're like, by the way, like, it's not like some big grand reveal. Like, I still am far more interested in what happened with Foresight, and how he ends up off the team and like over at TSM than I am about Guru, because like I was just already ready to hate this guy, and like, so you didn't need to do a lot more to get me to hate him.
And I just like, I don't really enjoy his scenes.
Yeah.
Not even like just like Joffrey from Game of Thrones is, you're supposed to hate this guy, and you do, and on the screen his scenes are like electric because you're like, what's this little psychopath gonna do? With Guru, I don't really feel any tension, or like, it's not like super well acted, I think, or like maybe it's just some of the things that push the believability more for me.
I mean, what's funny to me is
like, I'm like, whatever with
what's funny to me is like, I think he is very, he's like this mesh of like Keemstar and Nade Shot and I don't know, Tyler One a little bit, and like a lot of these different characters, and some of these people I like in real life, but they're also not people whose content I actively consume, and so he is somebody who like I'm just less interested in because of who he is. So
yeah, I just mean like, maybe it's just like some of the humor didn't land for me or something, but like when Organism was on the podcast and they're like, let's go, you're here, I know people overhype their own content all the time too anyways, but like,
he's like he is very Face Clan though.
He does pull it off. I don't mean to say when I say like maybe the acting is not the right thing, but just like the scenes are not comedic and they're not tense.
Gotcha.
And they're not they're not really doing anything for me other than advancing the plot.
You kind of have to sit through his character in the same way that I would have to sit through other personalities that are like this in the space, and you're just like, okay, cool.
So for me, I don't know. There was a lot of Guru this episode, and
he's the least interesting to me of all the characters they focus on so far. I think is the best way to put it. Like, I care more about Cream Cheese, Organism, Braxton, etc., etc.
So anyways,
so the show, so we get back to real time, and I don't think there's anything before they go to the party, right? Am I forgetting anything?
I don't really think, Organism and him have both slighted each other now. They're clearly not on good terms. They go to this party. It's an offline TV party, and Organism gets to go upstairs with the cool kids.
Yes. And Cream Cheese can't because he puked on Scar's room before, I think, or on his bed.
Or on Scar, I forget. But for some reason, Scar is like, don't let Cream Cheese up here. So Organism's hanging out with all the cool kids, and they're talking about, like, you should just become a streamer, like, why bother being a pro? And they're all trying to push him in that direction. And meanwhile, like, some of the Cream Cheese story time, I was also like, what the fuck is this? When he was like sitting on the island counter talking about stories.
So what I will say is, it is, you and I kind of take for granted that this is an offline TV party because it's so natural, but I actually do like the fact that like offline TV parties are a thing in this space, in the real world, and the fact is, like, these things are not normally streamed, they're not normally documented. People just, like, the fans know that this is a thing because people post pictures from it,
selfies
and like stories come out from it. Like, I was teasing Captain Flowers last night with like the hole in the wall.
I was wondering if Captain Flowers was inspiration a little bit for that. I was like, did anyone ever tell them that Captain Flowers put a hole in the wall?
Yes. And so it is, and like that house is a little nicer than most of the Offline TV houses, but not too. It's not dramatically like it. It is.
Is that not one of the houses that they moved into recently?
No, that's definitely not. You think? Oh, is that the Beverly Hills one?
I think that was their second Beverly Hills.
No, it's not the. It's not the one that they had the New Year's party.
So after I stopped working with them, they moved to one Beverly Hills. So I don't know. Like I actually thought that was because they had the pool in the back.
Okay,
and the
so
sliding
maybe
glass.
it is.
It might have been. I actually have no idea.
But I don't think it's one of their current houses, or one of their previous houses. I know it's not the one they had New Year's one. Anyway, whatever. I liked the fact that they did this, and it does feel very like if you're making the show, it makes a lot of sense to have an offline TV party, and I think it's like pretty fun. I will say I have enjoyed all the cameos and stuff like that up until this episode where I felt like,
why do you hate Lily Pichu?
I like Lily Pichu.
Why are you about to flame her?
Kill me. No, it's people will actually believe that I like Lily. But I think there was just too many in this for me. And I'm not saying that it's from the fan perspective. I think it's just unique for me where it stopped feeling like a scripted show for that moment. And I was like, okay, yeah, this is just a ton of cameos all at once. You're getting shots and shots and shots and shots. And I think, again, that's fun for most people. But for me, I'm like, okay, this feels a little, it was a little overdone for me.
It didn't bother me.
Okay.
I think this episode just moved a little slow with some of the focus on things, but
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it.
Yeah.
So anyways, Cream Cheese is downstairs thinking he's the shit, but secretly wishing he could get upstairs the whole time, getting drunker over time slowly, and eventually he ends up at the pool with Foresight, who has gone on to become the greatest player of all time in North America, and they both kind of reminisce about their legacies.
Yes.
And like Foresight, through lack of social awareness, is like roasting Cream Cheese for not really accomplishing anything his whole career.
Yes, and he tries to pin it on.
He tries to be positive.
Well, I think one of the things that I took away from that is he's really trying to say like, you built Fugitive, and Fugitive is this big brand, and so you will always be known as like the guy that built Fugitive, but. Because in the previous episodes we've seen the fact that like Fugitive is like at one point in time he's about to quit Fugitive. Like there's conversations about is Fugitive really his team.
Yeah.
Like at one point in time it's like, oh, we sold Fugitive, it's not our team. And then like later on Braxton's like, this isn't your team, it's our team. And so there's been a lot of conversation where like Cream Cheese I think can't even make claim anymore to Fugitive being his team in some sense because it's constantly being shown to him in previous episodes that it's not just his team.
Well, and I think him as a character doesn't care as much about it being his team as much as he cares about winning.
Right.
And I think like through all the bullshit that you have to get through him, like his core thing that drives him
that
is
he
winning.
wants to win. Yes.
Yeah. And so they also, I think one thing they did that I liked a lot this episode is they talked about his loyalty.
Yeah.
And that being kind of his downfall.
Yes.
Is that like he was overly loyal to Foresight.
Yeah.
And like just agreed with him in situations he shouldn't have. He was overly loyal to Frugger.
Yes.
And like didn't really give Organism a chance. And so like it's like one of those on an interview where you're like, tell me something bad about yourself. And you're like, oh, I'm too loyal. And you take a positive thing and spin it in a negative way. But I thought they did it in a good way. That built him up as like one of the things that makes him an asshole is that once you're a friend of his, he'll like go to the death for you.
Yes.
And so I thought that was good. And like, I thought it did a lot for his character.
Yeah,
as well.
it gives him kind of like a redeeming quality. And like, that's one of the things too is I keep waiting for them to start redeeming Cream Cheese, and I think we just got the tiniest bit of it at the end.
Yeah.
So my favorite episode or my favorite moment in the whole series so far, and what saves this episode from being kind of like an average episode for me, is that final moment where Cream Cheese, like you start to go like, oh god, because he goes up and confronts Guru, and you're like, this is gonna get messy, and I start getting anxiety because I'm just like, oh no, like, are we gonna get this drunk, messy moment?
Public blow up in a party?
Yes.
And we've all seen those before.
Yes, but that moment is written so well and acted so well because it pivots at the last second to this like brief moment of like honesty from Cream Cheese where he's like, you're so fucking good, you could be so good, like this could be amazing, I need you to actually start talking, like, and you see it in Organism where he's like, oh shit, And like all this time it's like, okay, Organism is also being a bit of a douche, and it just, I love that the episode ends that way. It's so fucking good. I love this moment.
I love that moment. They pushed him into that space really well by
Yeah.
having him get slighted a bunch of times in a row to like. So he's drunk. He's kind of getting like, he can't go upstairs. He's not cool. His former teammates basically like, your history is you found me, or you know, like, or whatever he was saying, like, you used to play with me and you have fugitive, and like that's not what he wants. And so he sees Org and he's hanging out with Guru, his like super enemy, and he's just like, fuck all of this. And that the fact that it was like a couple minutes of fuck you with like only 30 seconds of like or like a minute of it, so like you're like, oh god, this is gonna end it, but then last minute pivot into like,
they nailed that scene. They nailed in every aspect of it. I even think, like, not that I think cinematography has been like the biggest thing for the show, but just like the awkward transition from like this to like a real moment, like the acting, like I'm really, the writing in that moment, everything I thought was really, really well done. So like props to everybody for that moment, because I think it, like, it's, again, I thought this, you and I talk a lot about books. I think this episode had middle book syndrome is the best way I would describe it. And you're kind of hanging out all episode waiting for this final moment, but I'm really happy because the final moment, I think, does it.
Yeah, because you had to build up some things, like more of the history and streamer versus not streamer. It's like when the book slows down with the magic system or the history of the world, and you're like, all right, sinking in.
Yes.
And so I can see that a lot.
Yeah.
So seems like I thought we were at the midpoint turn earlier, but it seems like it's coming here about like now they're gonna start working together a little bit. It probably won't be super smooth the whole way,
right?
But at least like Cream Cheese has admitted that he is really good and they could win.
Yeah.
And now Org kind of has to meet him halfway, I think.
Yes. I think people are starting to like realize like, oh, this could be a thing. So, and I think now we're also probably gonna start Summer Split, right? Because like
pretty much
and maybe they go to like, I don't know, maybe you could get an episode of this, but like if we are at the halfway point, I think you now have to start Summer Split going forward, and like that's when they're going to be able to start trying to like win.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
So there's 5 episodes left. You could maybe have a shorter Summer Split.
Yeah.
And do one more thing, like a Korea boot camp or something.
Because I'd be surprised if they're going to Worlds.
I would think that this ends with a championship, with like season 2 being like, and then how will they do at Worlds kind of thing.
Right. Yes. So, anyway, I really like the episode. I like all this stuff. So, anything else that we should hit on about the episode? I do want to get, because we only have one episode now per episode of this. I do kind of want to do a little like theorizing or whatever, but anything else we should talk about this episode? Maybe Twitch chat has some things that they thought that we really like.
It's also hard for me to theorize given how many scripts I'd
seen. You've seen a lot.
I didn't like read them extensively, but yeah, you know, I've seen some things.
Okay, well, I will get some theories because I haven't seen it.
I'll tell you if you're right.
No spoiler.
That's a spoiler. I'll admit with that. That is a spoiler.
Okay. We're not going to be doing any leaking because I think Mark could actually get sued for that. So, well, you signed NDAs.
I don't know.
So I think I like the fact. I mean, we've obviously kind of knew this before, but I like the fact that they've been doing episodes focused on each individual player or person. I really hope we get an April episode because she continues to be one of my favorite characters in the show, even though she's been in the background so far. I'm just fascinated to see where obviously the Organism cream cheese stuff goes. I really hope we get a Foresight episode.
I think
actually. You have to stone face, but I think it'd be really interesting if they build to a TSM Fugitive Finals. I think that would be super fascinating because if you can get like Cream Cheese going up against his former bot lane, like one where he wanted to reunite the Axe Bros, and if you have Organism and him facing off against Foresight potentially about to retire, Cream Cheese trying to get his win, like I hope that's where we build. And again, I don't know any spoilers on anything, but like, yeah. Organism continuing to say he wants to be the greatest. Yeah, I wonder if I feel like that would be more like a season 2 thing, but that would be.
Well, I think he's just saying that. Org also has been honest about what he wants to be.
Yeah.
I think it's a message from a minute ago.
Yes. So either way, I think this episode's really good. I like it a lot. I continue to. So did you know they took down the first 2 episodes from YouTube?
No.
You can no longer watch the first 2 episodes on YouTube.
Why is that?
Because Paramount Plus wants this thing to fucking flop. I don't know. It's driving me crazy. It's sad because last week we were like, go watch this. And I even said it on Hotline League. And then like people can't go find the first 2 episodes now because they're gone. So you can use players to sign up for the service and watch them all on Paramount Plus and get the month for free. So please go do that. I'm not getting paid for this. But like I'm sad that they did that because I continue to feel like Paramount especially, but also kind of Riot are dropping the ball on making this show as well known as it could be. So I think that would be good. Twitch chat again. Any questions? Anything you want us to talk about before we wrap up this episode of our Players 2 or our Players
Gamers
episode
2.
5 thing. There's an agency called Players 2 in the space, and that's why I threw it up.
Okay.
Cool. Well, Twitch chat seems pretty quiet.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks to everyone for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next week for another one of these about episode 6.